So we've all seen the what adjustment would you make off of this shot kind of videos and reels from people on social media. Sometimes it's a flat 10, sometimes it's a wrap 10, sometimes it sneaks a little high, sometimes the ball rolls out, so on and so forth. And I'm not a fan because one shot isn't enough to tell you the whole story. Most of the time, the previous few shots leading up to the one in question provide critical context to what happened and what the decision or the conclusion should be. Plus, all it really does is feed into bowlers' bizarre tendencies to overanalyze and overcomplicate everything, or to puff up their chests and act like they're gonna see something that somebody like Verity Crawley can't, or think that they're somehow gonna help her of all people out, and all they really end up doing is embarrassing themselves. During filming for Brunswick's new Danger Zone Purple Ice, I happened upon a perfect teachable moment, and I realized I actually have several of these throughout my pretty lengthy and heavy live commentaries, so hopefully you like this, and hopefully I can do more of these, because I felt like it was the perfect situation to illustrate a point. I'm going to play this through unedited, and then we'll break it down, and sorry for the interjected glazing of the ball in between shots. I wanted to make sure to show this unedited so that nobody thinks that I was trying to piece something together or manufacture something for the sake of this video. It really happened like this on 4 consecutive shots. I'd also encourage you to watch very closely and take your own notes on what you're seeing and what you're thinking as I throw these shots, because I think you'll probably be surprised at where we end up here. Oh yeah, we knew that was going the whole way. And again, this is kind of a running joke I've got. When I'm throwing it good, I trip those like every single shot. Even though we all knew that was going high the entire way down the lane, we all knew that it was going high. I knew I was tripping it. And that one caught on my thumb just a little bit. I loaded up just a little bit too much, but I mean, I don't know why I'm taking so long to film these, because this is, we know what we're dealing with here. I mean, I'm sitting here just throwing darts and saying how bad all these shots are and like treating it almost like a practice session, because I'm just not really worried about the ball reaction. Yeah, but see that one you could tell. So that one you could tell. You're watching it, it's like, oh, we got that one outside, and it didn't quite get back. So that's just telling you that your eyes, I think a lot of people's eyes are better than they think they are, but they try to get too technical and explain everything away, and it's like, well, I trusted that one a little bit too much. It's flat corner, so I just got it out a little bit too far. It's not, oh my God, well, what do I have to do off of that? It's like, well, just don't miss on the next shot. Throw it like that on the next shot, and then you don't have to worry about the flat 10. So that's what people drive me nuts when they're like, well, you leave a flat 10, what move do you make off of this? It's like, I don't make a move, I throw it better. Just struck 3 or 4 times before that. I leak a little bit and leave a flat 10. I'm just gonna make a better shot next time. It's not that scientific. So the 2 shots before the flat 10, the first one I got a little slow with. The next one I loaded up a bit too much. I caught it a touch on my thumb, and while it held and struck, it was pretty high flush. So I did what most bowlers naturally do on the follow-up shot, which is the one in question. I got out of it cleaner and gave it too much room, so it got out too far and thus was too late and weak getting back up to the pocket, which caused the flat 10. Then of course I settled down and just made a good shot on the last one. Now I basically covered this with my live comments, but just to reiterate, I think the majority of the time that this kind of situation happens, the proper adjustment is none at all. Reset and make a better shot. People might try to say, well, but maybe you weren't playing the lanes right. Maybe if you were, that ball would have recovered, or maybe you're not throwing the right ball. The right ball may have given you that hit, so on and so forth, and they drill themselves down into the ground overthinking it, so let's slow down and back up again. My target from here is 19 to 7, so crossing 19 at the arrows and getting to a break point of 7 board. That's what I've identified as the best marks to hit to have the best opportunity to get to the pocket and strike. The first shot where I trip the 4-9, I do hit 19 at the arrows and I do hit 7 at the break point, but I'm a little slow and rolly with it. Next shot, in trying to stay firmer with my speed, I give it more of the business at the bottom, which results in a slight catch on my thumb. I actually hit 20 at the arrows, or dead on fourth arrow. Then I get it to the 7.5 board, really right on the line between the 7 and the 8 board, and the ball goes very high flush. But I get the hit because despite all of this, my speed was up and the shot wasn't so rolly. Then we get to the shot in question, so naturally after a trip 4-9, then grabbing it a little, you want to make sure that you do neither of those, so bring the tempo back down, relax the hand, and then the typical mistake is to miss right. 18 at the arrows, already in trouble in the first 15 feet, then the ball gets out to 4 down lane. The ball goes long, tries to get back, but just runs out of gas and hits flat, leaving the 10, and then you have the situation that most people would make the wrong decision in. The first shot, I rolled a 4-9. It means that the execution was clean, the ball got to the pocket with plenty of energy to make the pins dance. That's a good thing, that's not just luck. It means the ball isn't struggling to get down the lane or struggling to finish on the back end. It's happy with where it's at and how you're throwing it. You're not manufacturing ball reaction. Now you won't always carry those, but when you do, it means that several things are going right. Second shot, little catch on my thumb, but despite that, the ball still rolls pure. It doesn't die or give up or roll like a wounded duck. It still picks up strong and is continuous and firm through the pocket. Third shot, I missed 3 right on a challenge pattern from fourth arrow with a super glossy skid flippy ball, and yet it still gets back up and hits half pocket. Now, if you're throwing the wrong ball or standing in the wrong place on the lane, a miss of 3 right on a condition where there's oil outside usually means you're either missing the head pin or barely grazing it and leaving a bucket, or a 2-8-10, 2-4-10, so on and so forth. All of this information tells me I'm definitely in the right ball, in the right place on the lane, because if I get slow and trip a 4-9, then I grab it and it still looks like an amazing shot, then I flag it 3 right and only leave a flat 10, why would anyone be frustrated or do anything other than just try to make a better shot? Final shot, that's exactly what I do. 19 at the arrows. If you want to get nitpicky, we can call it 19.5. It's dead on top of the line between the boards. Tempo was great. Open hand at release means I didn't grab it. Got out of it nice and clean. Ball floats out. Dead center a 7 board at the break point. Ball drives through the 8 pin, and we're in business. You have to be able to accurately triage your mistakes. Too many people would still see, well, but I went high and I should have left a 4-9. Then I got lucky on the grab. Then I left a flat 10. Something has to be wrong here. Never make moves or adjustments on bad shots, and you also have to have a reasonable idea of what that is in the first place. If you start by saying, well, it's a problem that I just got a little slow and almost left a 4-9. Sure, that could be a thing. Or, well, because I feel like I have to throw it hard to get it down the lane, that's why I grabbed it trying to get through it firmer. Sure, that could be a thing too. Well, then that made me overcorrect and throw it out the window. Again, that's not an unreasonable thought or train of thoughts there. However, if you let that spiral you into a move or a ball change or whatever else, you could also be giving away what's actually a perfect look by overestimating reality and at the same time being so critical that you miss the truth. I timed the first 2 shots several times. The first shot was basically a half a mile an hour slower than the second. Well, I shouldn't almost 4-9 just getting a half a mile an hour slow. This ball is really responsive. Balls like this aren't going to give you as much forgiveness on getting slow as a smoother ball will, and naturally by contrast, smoother balls won't give you as much forgiveness if you throw them too hard. So when you consider the facts and the alternative, a smoother ball will probably let you get away with being a half a mile an hour slow, but given that this ball got back up to the pocket on a 3-board miss to the right, it'll most definitely let you get away with being a half a mile an hour and probably even a full mile an hour plus too fast. So the decision here is really, where do you want the forgiveness at? Do you tend to miss slow or miss fast? I tend to miss slow, but the trick for me is that compensating for that with an also slower ball makes me more grabby to make sure it finishes down lane. If I know that I need to roll it more or catch it to get it to finish strongly because it's a slower move down lane, that just makes me want to get even slower and grab it even more. Throwing something that will definitely pick up down lane, like this ball, allows me to stay softer and nicer to it at the release. But I do sometimes catch it a little if I'm focusing on keeping my speed up, but it's a lot less or obviously smaller of a problem than the alternative. If I just throw a smoother ball to lean into my typical miss, that just further reinforces that miss and makes it part of your game. Well, I tend to grab it and get too slow, so I throw smoother, weaker equipment to compensate for that. See how that doesn't actually sound right? This is one of those situations like in driving safety courses where they tell you if you get off the road and you're heading for a tree, look in the direction you want to go, not at the tree. Because if you're just staring at the tree, you're going to hit the tree. The same situation here. I don't want to grab the ball or get too slow. I want to do what I did on the last shot here. I want to float out of it nice and easy and have it pick up and drive like this. If I'm throwing something that encourages me to make good shots, this shot is where I end up at, instead of almost 4-9, little catch and some luck, flag it for a flat 10, oh, well, I just need to throw something smoother. Then it's grab roll, grab roll, grab roll, because you're feeding your mistake rather than correcting it. The forgiveness here then becomes pretty obvious. I'm in the right place on the lane with the right ball that trips the 4-9 instead of leaving it on what's honestly still a well-executed shot that's just a touch slow. I don't consider that a real problem. The slight catch still rolls like a boss and drives, and zero of you would have seen it if I wouldn't have told you. I'm probably even a little too nitpicky there. The big miss right still hits the pocket and leaves me a makeable spare. Then when I settle down and make the perfect shot, I'm staring at strike, strike, 9 spare strike on the scoreboard and a great look on the lanes instead of descending into frustration and confusion. Now I also know that I've got room to the right and room long. If I throw it too hard or miss it a bit at the bottom or get it too wide, I've realistically got a lot of forgiveness and a lot of room for a challenge pattern. A half pocket flat 10 on a 3-board miss right means I'm still going to be in mixer or light strike territory on a 4-board miss. So that means that I have 4 boards of room at the break point to still hit the pocket on a challenge pattern. That's insane. If anything, maybe instead of going 19-7, maybe I aim at 5 down lane so that I put my target in the middle of that miss area at the break point. So say if I hit 5, it's a strike. If I miss a couple boards right, then it'll still get back to the pocket. And if I miss a bit left and hit 6 or 7, it'll still hold. But that's absolutely it. Miss room doesn't always mean miss and still strike room. Most of the time, miss room means still hit the pocket and stay away from disaster room. Even when you're lined up and have the world, you'll still get around one occasionally and drive by a 9, or jam one and leave a flat 10. Maybe catch a little transition, leave a 4-pin, so on and so forth. But 9 spare is a lot better frame most of the time than people think it is, because too many times I see people chase carry and completely fall apart. That's when you see circles start showing up on the scoreboard, and then you get to the end of a bad game and go, what happened? Well, what happened is that instead of letting 9 spare happen a couple times in a 240 or 250 game, you let those couple off hits get in your head and started overestimating the amount of forgiveness you could or think you should have, because instead of looking at the 9 or 10 other strikes in the game and realizing things are going well, you're fixating on the couple hits you didn't get and letting those spiral you out of control. This was way longer and way more in-depth than it needed to be, but ADHD is a wild ride, man. I may even be autistic. I should probably go get tested. And don't get wound up at that comment. That wasn't a dig. That's a nod to my other neurodivergents out there who definitely understand and identify with where I'm coming from. Plus, that's my final point. I obviously overanalyze and overthink literally everything. Only I could make a 10 or 15 minute long video or whatever this ends up being out of 4 relatively solid shots in the middle of a ball review. The overanalyzing and overthinking isn't the problem. It's just that most of the time you need to exit it with a simple conclusion like the Whopper did in the movie War Games. A strange game, the only winning move is not to play. Sometimes you still have to play global thermonuclear war. I'm really glad I decided to put that in the script here to try and say cleanly. But sometimes you still have to play GTW through a million times to figure that out. But way too many people will keep playing it and keep playing it, thinking that if they just think harder, they'll solve the problem instead of eventually figuring it out and exiting the program. My problem was already solved before I'd even started thinking about it, and because I knew I was feeling good and was in good shape with the forgiveness that I'd just gotten on the previous 2 shots, my instant decision and realization after leaving that flat 10 was to just stay home and make a better shot. Most of the time, you don't need to play the game. Most of the time, you don't need to move, you don't need to change balls, you just need to make a better shot. House shots have kind of conditioned people into thinking that they should have 5 boards each direction or that they should be able to just yeet it somewhere right at the headpin and it'll all work out. If you really want to get better though, you have to be more realistic and pay more attention. Thanks for watching and may the strikes be with you.